Growing up, I was told there were two kinds of intelligence: book smarts and street smarts. And like most people, I wanted a little bit of both. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm probably leaning a little bit towards being more dorky than I am street smarts. But life has a funny way of teaching you things outside the classroom as well. I've spent plenty of time in libraries, but I've also traveled solo around the world, taking risks and done things that scared me half to death and probably would scare most people to death. So somewhere along the way, I picked up a bit of both. But if you asked me today to choose between book smarts and street smarts, I'd pick door number 3. The ability to make things simple. There's this quote by a guy named Woody Guthrie that I love. He says this: "Any fool can make something complicated, but it takes genius to make it simple." And that idea has stuck with me, because here's the truth. It's incredibly easy to make things complicated. Look, I work with engineers all day. We are experts at this. You give us a 3-step process and we will proudly turn it into a 21-step checklist with diagrams and documentation and a flowchart. It'll work perfectly, but it'll also be way, way more complicated than it needs to be. What's rare though, what's powerful, is the opposite. You take something complicated and make it simple. I've always loved that moment when you're teaching someone something and suddenly you see it, the light bulb, it goes off. But here's what people don't see. That moment usually comes after trying 100 different ways to explain the same thing. But over time, you start to realize something. Simplicity isn't laziness. Simplicity, it's efficiency. It's asking, how do I make this so clear, so easy that anyone can understand it? I learned this lesson from one of the best teachers I ever had. His name was Colonel Hire. He was brilliant. He went to West Point for his undergraduate degree and MIT for his graduate. The kind of guy who could run circles around most intellectually. But what made him so special wasn't how much he knew. It was in how clearly he could explain it. He would start class with a story, something funny, something engaging, and only then would he introduce whatever subject we were learning about in thermodynamics. He knew if we were engaged and laughing, we'd probably figure some stuff out. But he also listened to us rant every once in a while about other teachers and how they didn't seemingly understand how we couldn't understand what they were talking about. He empathized with us. Now, I'm going to be honest, right about now, every single one of you probably tuned out at the thought of even learning anything about thermodynamics. But if you're in Colonel Hire's class, you definitely wanted to learn about it. Because he understood something critical about people. If you engage people first, they'll follow you into the complexity. And if you can make what's complex a little simpler, you'll definitely get a full classroom of attentive students. One day, he paused in the middle of class and turned around and said something I've never forgotten. If I truly understand a subject, I should be able to explain it to almost anyone. And then he gave an example. He said, I can teach thermodynamics to you because you are engineering students. You have the background in various classes. But if I can explain it to my 5-year-old son, I have to completely change how I teach it. Same subject, different audience, radically different level of simplicity. And it was in that moment that it clicked for me. Understanding something deeply isn't about making it sound impressive. It's about making it accessible. Because anyone can hide behind complexity. But simplicity, that takes work. It takes empathy, observation, and noticing when someone's eyes start to glaze over versus when they light up. So here's my challenge to you today. Whatever your field is, whatever you're good at, don't just try to master it. Try to simplify it. The next time you explain something, pause and ask, how can I make this clearer? How can I make this easier to understand? And if you're looking at a process, at work, at home, anywhere, ask, does this really need to be this complicated? You don't have to go from 27 steps to 3 steps overnight. You start small. Just go from 27 to 26. Make something 1% better, 1% clearer, 1% easier. Because those small improvements, they add up. And in a world that constantly rewards complexity The real advantage, the real genius, is learning how to make things simple.